How to install a tile backsplash. Hi guys, here's my supply checklist that I used. I recommend screenshotting this and gathering all of your supplies before you begin this project. Here's a quick look at what I used. I used grout in the color white, a clean, dry, empty bucket, a big, large sponge. These are the tiles that I used. They're from Boutique brand. They were the white ceramic subway tiles. They are trickier to use because they are kind of rippled on the edges. They are all handmade. While these are very beautiful tiles, I do find them to be a bit of a challenge when trying to space everything out equally. You might not get an equal spacing due to the rippled edges. So my very first step is using this muscle bound paper that I picked up at Lowe's. This makes everything so much easier and so much neater and cleaner. I lined it up almost like wallpaper on the wall, and it went on really easily. It has a sticky side on one side that sticks to the wall, and then a film that you peel off when you're ready to tile. So I am just cutting the edges straight with a pair of scissors. I then place the roll up against the bottom edge of the cabinets, up against the wall, and then I push against the wall just to make sure it's adhered. I actually used a pair of the scissors to just run along the bottom edge just to make sure that it was nice and smooth, and then I used my X-Acto knife to cut it. This muscle bound paper is a true time saver. I highly recommend it. It makes everything so much easier. It cuts really easily, as you can see, and makes everything just neater and cleaner. So for this project, I had several electricity outlets to go around. So what I did was I put the muscle bound paper directly over the outlets, and then my husband cut around them after he shut off all the breakers. You definitely want to shut your breakers off before attempting this. The next step is to peel off the top part of the film of the muscle bound paper. It's going to reveal the very sticky side underneath, and that is what you're going to stick the tiles directly against. Another great feature about the muscle bound paper is it comes with 3 different sizes of spacers that are specifically designed to use with this paper. They are really easy to use. I used the blue color for this project. So now that all of the film has been removed from the muscle bound paper, I can start the fun part, which is laying the tile. For subway tiles, I always start with a half tile. So I just cut it right in half, and this will create a brick-like format. I'm sure there are other ways that you can do this, but this is how I prefer to lay it. So now I am putting the spacers directly onto the paper, and it sticks right on. And I put one on the side, one on top, and then I layer the next one right on top of the blue spacer. So I'm using a full tile for this one, and then we are just alternating up. And I started on the bottom and I'm going up, and I didn't want to cut too many long, narrow pieces, and I chose to make narrowest piece at the top. So now that first few rows up are laid out, you can just move along really quickly, alternating half and full length, and you can use the blue spacers and remove them as you need to. So once you get one down, you can remove them and start the next row. I left the top row till the very end and then cut the entire top row based on the measurements for the skinniest pieces. To cut the tiles, I highly recommend the Blue Hawk tile cutter. This is the 20-inch version. It's super easy and super fast to use. I'm going to be doing a separate tutorial on how to use this cutter. So here it is about halfway through. I had some tricky sections that I needed to cut around the light switches and the electrical outlets, and I chose to finish up as many of the quickest tiles as possible. So now I am doing that final top row. These are going to be a little bit trickier to cut because they are long, skinny pieces, so you have to turn your tiles lengthwise. So here I am adjusting my settings based on the measurements that I took, and this is the Blue Hawk 20-inch tile cutter, and I'm just going to be moving the arm of the tile cutter up very slowly and with some force, and slowly scoring each tile, just like this. And then when you get to the end, that bar on the end drops down and you want to just push, and there you have it. Your tile breaks in the spot that you scored it, and then you can continue on laying the rest of your tiles. I learned a really easy way to get a perfect measurement every time without using a ruler or a measuring tape is to actually flip your tile and then mark your tile where you want it to end. So in this case, I'm going to be marking it over just to the right of that spacer, and I will have a perfect measurement once I put it into my Blue Hawk tile cutter. So here it is, and it fits perfectly. And I believe that was the very last tile I had to cut. Now it is on to mixing up the grout. So this is the grout that I used. It's called Mapei Color Plus. I used the white grout. I also have a clean bucket and a sponge. So here I have added some water to the bottom of the bucket. You don't need a lot. I would say it's probably 3/4 cup. And then I'm just mixing in slowly the grout mixture. I am using a cake batter knife that my mom had because we did not have a trowel. This reminded me a lot of baking because you're mixing the dry to the wet ingredients and you're just stirring along, and you want to just continuously stir while adding in your grout mixture. And at the end, you want to have a consistency that is thick but yet still wet, and this is what it's going to look like. It should stick to your trowel like this. So I am just wiping down my surface with water. I'll then dry it with a paper towel. This is just to make sure you have a clean, dry surface to apply your grout. I use my hands to apply the grout. I have tried trowels before, and I have scratched many tiles by using a metal trowel. I don't have anything else, so I'm just putting some rubber gloves on, and I'm getting in there and putting the grout in and making sure that it's even and level. I then go back over it once I've let it sit for about 15 minutes and wipe it off with a wet sponge, and I just continue that process. I tend to use smaller batches of the grout and just mix as I need it because the grout dries really quickly. So we mixed up about 3 batches for this project. So if you see any little air bubbles in the grout, you can just go back over with more grout, and of course you're going to want to wipe all this down after with clean water and a sponge. And here is the final video of the before and after. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.